Welcome to the May St. Joseph reflection during this year of St. Joseph. So May 1st is the feast of St. Joseph the Worker. So I'm going to talk about St. Joseph and work. So first of all, St. Joseph in the Gospels, he's described as a carpenter. Jesus, when people are questioning, when Jesus goes back to Nazareth, they say, "Isn't this the son of the carpenter?" Well, the word there in Greek actually is tekton, which means kind of one who works with their hands. So it could refer to one who works with wood. It could work like one who works with brick, stone, mason. So really any kind of construction type work, building work and stuff. So maybe even more generally, Saint Joseph was a construction worker. Maybe it's not as narrow as maybe we think as carpenter. One who works in a shop and has tools of wood. It could be much more. He might have been doing certain job sites and stuff, going out to and working. We don't have a whole lot of details, but we know the Greek word actually is broader than kind of what we think of as carpenter. Now, St. Joseph the Worker is very important because the fact that he worked, God decided, well, St. Joseph, so you're going to provide for Mary and Jesus, and you're going to work. Now, first of all, work is not a punishment. Because of sin. When God created Adam and he put him in the garden, he told him to till and keep the garden. So this being a steward. So it's not like after Adam and Eve sinned, then work came into the world. No, there's a certain burden of work, kind of our toil aspect that enters in because they've sinned, they've broken off certain lines of grace from God. But work has an intrinsic value. Not so much because of the work itself, but because the one doing the work. So really, the dignity of work is grounded in the dignity of the person. And I think St. Joseph can help us. Why did St. Joseph work? Well, provide for Mary, Jesus, and himself. Kind of provide for them. And so this aspect of work it's relationship orientated. It's for persons, for one's own sustenance, and then to the sustenance of one's family and those closest to oneself. And so this importance of and that dignity of the person. So St. Joseph, the fact that as a worker, he worked, but it's not his main thing. St. Joseph isn't primarily defined as a worker. He's defined as a husband and the guardian or foster father of Jesus, custodian, one who guardian of Jesus, guardian of the Holy Family. And so the Roman relation. This is a secondary. So it's the importance of his being, who he is, his identity is really in relationships with others. That's where he finds his identity. And this his work as a construction worker or carpenter, however it's translated, that's a secondary thing. What's more important is who he is, and that it's out of who he is as a person, and that his work can have that dignity has value. That the value of the dignity is based in the intrinsic value of the person. Jesus, him coming, shows that work has a redemptive aspect. And even before Jesus' kind of redemptive work of the cross and resurrection, work kind of is a foreshadowing of that kind of work isn't bad. There's goods to it. And Jesus shows that work actually pulls us out of ourselves. And St. Joseph helped, the fact that he's working for his family, for others. It's not just all about him, but it's this redemptive aspect of work can help pull us out of ourselves for others, and it provides opportunities to love. So St. Joseph, to love Mary and Jesus, and then even the excess funds and stuff to be able to give to others in need. So the aspect of love that allows for that. So really this... and I think St. Joseph, the dignity of work, it's not always. Sometimes our world and stuff thinks, well, only if you're working outside the home, then you have really. Otherwise, if you're a stay-at-home mom or dad, then well, no, that's actually the most important work. St. Joseph's most important work is actually as a husband and father. Those relationship where he's not making money off of doing that, but he's growing those relationships. That's more essential, and that's really the priceless, invaluable kind of work Whereas the other work outside the home, or work for monetary gain and such, is more to provide for those relationships. So it's really it's something that really can creep in our culture to think of, if I'm not doing something out there and change. Well, actually, the greatest thing we can do is allow the Lord to work on us and to build strong families, marriages, and families. That's really the grounding. That's where peace is. That's the greatest change. Some people think, well, if I would just go serve the poor and give my whole life, well, that's good. But many times it's actually there can be poverty right in front of us. The idea of poverty, not just necessarily material poverty, but kind of the poverty of the need of growth of who the Lord is, what is His will, and this kind of putting one's priorities right, and forming the hearts, for parents, forming the hearts and minds of their children, both by their words and by their way of life. So it's really informing the family is really the most important work. St. Joseph shows is the relationships, the work of investing in those relationships. This is part of why the Church speaks of the home as the domestic church. Domestic, just house, kind of home, house church. This idea of the family is kind of to be a little church. It's a kind of place of where God's peace, love abides, and God is praised. And the image that St. John Paul II used in his encyclical on the family for the church, he actually, I don't know any places where he used when he refers to the Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. I haven't found anything in his writings where he says, well, the family is a model of the Trinity. Actually, he says, the family is the model of the Trinity. There's certain connections there, but more so it's the church, this communion of persons, this home, where God is praised and received and is to abide. So yeah, just that importance of work and the dignity of the worker, and St. Joseph, kind of the importance of his most important work actually is his work of following the Lord, and then those relational, building those relationships, strengthening those with Mary and Jesus. And then third main point of, so May 1st, the reason why this was kind of designated in the 50s by Pope Pius XII, was because May 1st had been for almost 60 years or so prior, was designated as kind of the International Socialist Communist Day. So, and so this was St. Joseph the Worker Feast Day on May 1st is kind of a counter movement of the church to say, no, there's certain things intrinsically in socialism, communism, that's undervalues the person and the worker. Though it seems good on paper that, the state owns everything and everybody, can, we just redistribute everything so everybody's equal. But the problem is it takes away the responsibility of really the family being the core unit of the society. Now the government becomes the core unit, whereas no, God, the principal unit is the family. And so to allow that family, give the room for that family to have their own goods, and so they can grow and invest in that, as well as many in socialism, communism. In the name of equality, certain power grabs take place. So in the name of equality, we're going to make everybody equal, and there's great inequality that eventually comes out of that. So it undermines the inherent value of that. People can take responsibility for their lives. Yes, they may need help, but in terms, it's this St. Joseph, the feast day of St. Joseph, in contrast to socialism, shows that no, humans aren't just merely animals. They aren't just apathetic, like they can't do anything. We can do a lot. Now the other contrast would be with capitalism. I didn't think I'd get into economics today. You didn't think I'd get into economics, did you? But there can be a good sense of capitalism where it's seen I'm providing service goods for the common good, for building up a more just, loving society, and I'm providing a service for workers so they can provide for their families, and that there's a good here. That's capitalism. That's though we're fallen humans, so there's no perfect economic system. But capitalism has at least the potential, whereas socialism and communism, intrinsically built into them, is something that goes against our very nature as human. It denies us kind of our response, the value of the family and those basic relationships that God has made for us to flourish. But capitalism, there can be a good sense of it when it's properly working. Obviously, we're still fallen, but then the tendency can be to greed, kind of consumerism. You could say cutthroat markets. That's the bad stuff. Whenever the popes speak about kind of critiquing capitalism, it's on that. It's kind of the vices that creep into that, where instead of they're seen there as helping to provide for a better society, it's more of people are out to kind of gain for themselves. So it's not that capitalism. The church has never said capitalism is a perfect system. It's a system where fallen humans are part of, and so this need for diligence and kind of always this not to think somehow we can make a system that's going to fix it. We're still broken, but we want to make sure a system isn't intrinsically broken. All right, we may be fallen, broken humanity, but we want to make sure that at least we get on a bike that can move and that's not broken itself intrinsically. That's maybe one way to see it. So St. Joseph the worker, very, very important, just in the value of work. And so work can see very much as a burden. I got to do it, as opposed to it can be helpful. Why am I doing the work? Well, I'm getting out of myself, and I'm doing this for others, not just merely for myself. Part of it can be I will provide for myself, but also it's helping me get out of myself to provide, to connect with others, to get out of myself, to grow in love. St. Joseph the worker, pray for us.